Mr. Reichland Melnick, I'd like to come to you. I want to talk about some of your tweets. You've been active on X. Here's one. This is bad analysis that bears little resemblance to the facts. The Remain in Mexico program was not very successful. It was a human rights disaster that fed people to the cartels with not much impact on border crossings. Plus, Biden ended it when it was barely in use at all. So
that's correct.
Let's talk about that. So do you still believe that Remain in Mexico was not very successful?
It wasn't. In fact, it was one of a suite of programs that went into effect in 2019, about 4 or 5 different ones over the course of about 8 months.
Do you believe it was a human rights disaster?
Yes, and I can tell you the stories of the women sent back by the United States to Mexico who were raped in Mexico because of that.
People that were raped along the way, people that have been trafficked.
And we sent them back to those traffickers. Remain in Mexico gave people to the cartels, and we turned our eyes away from them.
Remain in Mexico was successful, and we all know it. Now, let me talk to you about another tweet.
What's up, everybody? Major Retired Richard Ojeda here, and let's talk about Marsha Blackburn. You know, the woman who seems to think her job in the Senate is to play the world's most condescending school marm. And let me tell you, her performance in that recent Senate hearing was peak Marsha.
There are not 320,000 missing children.
That's correct.
That number is a false interpretation of a DHS OIG report that said that 32,000 people who entered as unaccompanied children from 2019 to 2023 were ordered deported for missing court, and ICE failed to file charging documents for 291,000 more.
That's right. Now, that's an accurate description of the OIG report.
This is a human rights disaster because what we have heard is the DHS Inspector General, and what they have testified is that they found 32,000 migrant children did not show up for their court date, and an additional 291,000 migrant children never received notices to appear.
That's correct. That's what my tweet said.
Is it your testimony that DHS does in fact know the whereabouts of every single one of these 320,000 children, and they're just not telling people where these children are?
No, because that's not DHS's function here. It's also Office of Refugee Resettlement. It's
it is
not their job to go out and find every single people.
It is DHS and ORR.
I guess the broader point is somebody isn't missing if no one's looking for them.
What we know.
She wasn't there to learn anything, to get to the truth, or even to have a meaningful discussion. Nope. Marsha Blackburn showed up to bully, to interrupt and humiliate, because that's what she does best. She treated Aaron Reichland Melnick, the witness, like a student who dared to talk back in class. She came prepared with his tweets, holding them up like she'd caught him passing notes. Marsha, you really got him there, didn't you? She thought she was going to corner him, shame him, and somehow prove, well, I'm not even sure what she was trying to prove, that she can read, that she knows how to print tweets. Bravo, Marsha. Pulitzer-worthy stuff. But here's the problem for Marsha. Reichland Melnick was ready. He stood his ground and calmly dismantled her nonsense.
DHS says that you've got this 320,000 migrant children that cannot be located. That is a human rights disaster. I yield back.
Senator Blackburn, they did not say they can't be located. They said that they had not even attempted to file charging documents. My time has expired. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
I'm going to give the witness an opportunity to finish his remarks.
I just want to know, the DHS report did not say these children were missing. It said that ICE had failed on the job to actually start the court process for them. If ICE filed the court documents, many of those people would be living at the exact address that the ICE told them. It's just ICE has not filed the charging documents. It's not that they're missing. And of course, exploitation is very real, and we've called for more labor enforcement to ensure it doesn't happen.
He explained that the 320,000 children she was ranting about weren't missing at all. ICE, the very agency Marsha is always championing, hadn't even filed the paperwork. The kids didn't disappear. They were never properly processed. But did Marsha listen? Of course not. She kept interrupting him, twisting his words, and doing everything in her power to avoid the facts. And when it was clear she was losing, what did she do? She pulled the classic bully move. She cut her losses and ran. My time has expired. Yeah, Marsha, so has your argument.
My time has
charging
expired. I
documents,
yield
which is
back,
a very
Mr.
different thing.
Chairman.
This isn't new for her. Marsha Blackburn has been pulling the same routine for years. She's loud, she's smug, and she's full of bad faith. Let's not forget that this is the same woman who back in 1992 couldn't even win a congressional seat. Instead of taking the L, she lowered her sights and clawed her way into the Tennessee State Senate in 1998. From there, she started building her brand, the voice of angry right-wing grievance, all while selling out her constituents to the highest bidder. And speaking of selling out, let's talk about her infamous fentanyl bill. Marsha loves to stand up on her soapbox and blame the Democrats and immigrants for the opioid crisis. She screams about fentanyl every chance that she gets, tying it to the border security like it's some kind of one-size-fits-all boogeyman. But here's the kicker. Her own bill, written by pharmaceutical lobbyists, made it harder for the DEA to stop suspicious shipments of opioids. That's right, Marsha Blackburn made the problem worse. And the result? A 50% increase in overdose deaths in Tennessee. So when it gets up there and starts ranting about Democrats are soft on drugs, just remember, Marsha Blackburn is the reason Tennessee's opioid crisis spiraled out of control. She's not just part of the problem, she's one of the architects of it. And it doesn't stop there. Let's take a look at Marsha's voting record. This woman loves to talk about how much she cares about women and families. But when you dig into her actual votes, it's like opening Pandora's box of hypocrisy. She voted against the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act, which would have made it easier for women to fight wage discrimination. She also voted against the Paycheck Fairness Act, calling efforts to ensure equal pay silly. Silly? You know what's silly, Marsha? Your entire career. Oh, and let's not forget her vote against reauthorizing the Violence Against Women Act. Why? Because it protected too many groups like Native American women and LGBTQ survivors of violence? Imagine thinking there's such a thing as too much protection against domestic violence. That's Marsha Blackburn for you. And let's not forget her love affair with the NRA. After the Thousand Oaks shooting, her first priority wasn't to address gun violence or advocate for victims. Nope. Marsha went on Fox News to say, first and foremost, we need to protect the Second Amendment. That's not surprising, though, considering the NRA dumped $1.25 million into her Senate campaign. For Marsha, it's always guns first, lives second. That's her brand. Oh, and climate change? Forget about it. Marsha Blackburn is so deep in the Koch brothers' pockets, she probably gets her mail delivered there. She's received over $5 million in support from Koch-related PACs, which might explain why she denies the climate crisis entirely. Her greatest hit, claiming we are on the cooling period. Cooling period. Marsha, the ice caps are melting faster than your arguments, and you're still trying to sell us this nonsense. And then there's her connection to Trump. Let's be clear, Marsha Blackburn isn't just a loyal Trump supporter, she's his echo. Trump himself said, a vote for Marsha is a vote for my policies. And what are those policies? Oh, just gutting overtime pay, slashing health care, destroying public broadcasting, attacking LGBTQ rights, and tearing apart government institutions to serve corporations. Marsha Blackburn stands for everything Trump stands for, and together they're the dream team for dismantling American democracy. But here's where it gets really good. Marsha Blackburn was so bad she forced Taylor Swift into politics. Think about that for a second. Taylor Swift, who avoided political commentary her entire career, felt compelled to speak out because of how horrifying Marsha's record is. In 2018, Swift posted on her Instagram saying, her voting record appalls and terrifies me. She highlighted Blackburn's votes against equal pay for women, her opposition to protections for domestic violence survivors, and her attacks on LGBTQ rights. Swift didn't mince words. She called Marsha Blackburn out for exactly what she is. And the best part, Marsha couldn't handle it. She dismissed Swift with some shake it off lyrics. That's rich coming from someone who thinks ICE losing paperwork is the same as kids going missing. But here's the thing. Taylor mobilized an entire generation against Blackburn. Voter registration surged after Swift's post, and young people turned out in droves to oppose her. Even Trump chimed in, saying he liked Swift's music 25% less after her comments. Thanks for sharing, Donald. Nobody really cares. Marsha Blackburn isn't just bad at her job, she's dangerous. She's a bully in the Senate, a hypocrite on policy policy and a puppet for Trump's regressive agenda. She doesn't represent Tennessee or America's values. She represents corporate donors, the NRA, and anyone willing to write her a check. And the American people are done with this garbage. Marsha, your time has expired. The truth is out, and no amount of bullying or grandstanding is going to save you. And that's an absolute fact. Sappers clear the way, airborne all the way.